afternoon, everyone. I'm like an hour late because my Facebook decided I wasn't allowed to comment, and then it decided I wasn't allowed to post anywhere. Um, so I don't know if anybody will be watching this, but I'm sorry I'm late. Um, Hi Taylor. So someone's here. Yay. Um, and Chris, hi. Good morning, afternoon. It's not morning anymore. Um, so I was having Facebook issues and I'm very, very sorry. uh, anyway, so I started my new job officially this week and I started it at my new location. Um, Yesterday was our grand opening, so I'm a little brain dead and I'm a little exhausted, a lot exhausted. Um, but one of the questions that came up, because we're just the second location, so I'm just basically the second groomer they ever hired. I guess the first location, the first groomer apparently left crying one day. She does only cats. I don't know. Anyway, so one of the questions by someone who is not a groomer, who is our marketing guru from the investment partners that gave, good morning, Jessica. Um, so I work for a new Philadelphia startup and it's called Heart and Paw, and I just started September 1st. And it's cool because it's like a startup company, and how often do you get to do that? And it is corporate, so I have really killer benefits right now, which is so nice. Like, I cannot wait to get my teeth cleaned. Cannot wait. Can't tell you how excited I am about going to the dentist. But anyway, part of the problem, obviously, with corporate, which I'm sure most of us or all of us have had experience with, is that it's an unmoving thing, and they basically rule your life. And this company is very different because, well, at least right now, I'm the second location. So, I assume the corporate culture is very different than it was at PetSmart. This is actually started by a bunch of people who were at Banfield and dissatisfied with the work environment. So they're trying to make a better work environment for the employees and a better just environment for the pets too. And it's really admirable and it's beautiful, and they're spending a lot of money and a lot of time on it, and a lot of marketing. I've been doing maybe 4 dogs a day, and now granted, I've been there a week. The salon is beautiful, but it's not quite set up, waiting on supplies and certain items that are needed, like tub loops. The front desk people are still getting used to me and getting used to how I schedule. And so it's like a growing thing. But this guy, Keith, who is really cool guy, really cool dude, he's from the Capital Company, and he was brought on to help with this big launch and all the marketing, and he has ideas. And he kind of asked Tammy, well, why am I only doing 4 dogs and Danny's doing 6? Now, Danny is the groomer at King of Prussia, and she's also a former PetSmart groomer, like I am. And their salon's been open for 2 months. And that makes a big difference because you get into a routine, and like, things happen differently once you're used to a space. And I told him that, and he understood. But I guess his question is, when he goes to the stakeholders, like, well, how many dogs is somebody supposed to be doing? And him and I had a very nice, long conversation where I felt actually heard for a change, which is really cool when you're dealing with corporate, it when I worked at PetSmart, corporate office seemed like, some like big evil fortress from, Looney Tunes, with all the bad guys sitting around the table, or Gargamel's keep. And here, they're in the stores, and, they're listening and asking for feedback, and admitting that they don't know anything about grooming. They're not groomers. Keith's, I think it was his wife or his sister, works at a daycare in Chicago, or did. And she told him that, grooming's really hard and it's hard to find groomers. So I feel like they're more aware, um, and okay with that. But so anyway, this whole long thing got me thinking about, why did I say 6 dogs a day? I'm physically capable of probably doing more. I could probably do 8 small dogs a day. And I did tell them that I could easily do 10 cats if they were all well behaved and none of them bit me. Um, I could probably do 10 cats and be done by one. However, so why did I pick 6 dogs? 6 small dogs. Well, I based it off the price. I didn't get to set the prices here. They're set. They're very high. A small dog groom $75, which I guess it's not that high, but it's a little higher than where I was working on the main line. So when I'm thinking as an employee, how many dogs am I capable of doing? I take into consideration my physical health, which is not as, I'm not as limber and I'm not as pain-free as I was when I was 22 and could do 10 dogs a day. And that was at PetSmart, and they have, the kennel fans and stuff there. This place doesn't have any of that. Everything's done pretty much straight through. So feasibly, how long is it going to take me to do a cockapoo or a Shih Tzu? We'll say a Shih Tzu. I always actually do everything in a Shih Tzu. And a Shih Tzu takes me from start to finish with a minimal amount of scissoring. Bath, dry, check in, check out. Not just the grooming, not just the bathing. We'll say an hour and 15 minutes. And that's, in case the dog's bad or, Shih Tzus don't like their faces done. So then I break down my day. I have a 9-hour day. I get a lunch, and it's been really nice. I've been eating outside. And so I picked 6 dogs because also based on that small dog price and my commission level, that gives me a livable income. Now, I'm never going to get 6 Shih Tzus a day or 7 Shih Tzus a day. It's going to be a variety. And that's something where Keith, as a corporate person who's not doing this, although he understands that, yes, a big dog's going to take me longer than a Shih Tzu, doesn't know how to take into consideration that big dog versus a small dog. Taylor asked what is lunch and grooming you talk about. I know, Taylor. I said to them, I'm like, I'm really spoiled now. I've gotten like a solid lunch that I didn't have to eat at my table. It's amazing. And that's what I mean. Like, this is a great company. I'm really excited to be part of it. And they care. Like, they want to hear this. They want to know. So after Keith and I had our big conversation, and then we talked about how to get people in from the community, just into the space to see it and to give our services and get to meet the staff and get to know people, I thought about when I had my shop. And I based my prices at my shop on what I needed to make a day to keep the doors open, and then what I needed to make a day to keep my life on track. And obviously when I started my shop, I was not hitting those numbers. But when I sold my shop, I was. And as an employee, my expenses don't change for my life. So I know how much I approximately need to make to live comfortably, to do the things that I want to do. And so after I had talked to Keith about it's the equivalent of 6 small dogs, I know it's hard for non-groomers to understand that. A golden doodle is going to take me 2 Shih Tzus. And those words don't mean anything to them. So I said to him, think about it in dollars, in a production number. I need to make $200 in commission a day minimum, not including tips, just straight $200 to maintain my lifestyle. That's not saving any money. That's not buying anything extra. That is just feeding myself, getting gas, paying for all of these grooming competitions. And so I base how many dogs I can do by hitting that minimum number. Now, am I going to be able to do 6 giant schnauzers in a day? Maybe. It depends on the dog. It depends on the golden doodle. It depends, I don't know any of these dogs. And that's part of the thing where they were just booking me 4 dogs. And Keith was wondering why just 4. And Tammy is my center director, and she's amazing. And she said to him, she's like, we don't know any of these dogs. We don't have a relationship with them. They're not repeat customers. And so it always takes, I feel myself, it always takes me longer the first visit to get to know the dog. I don't know them at all. I don't know their behavior. That's not my haircut. When I have regular clients, I can buzz through them. If it's every 6-week dog and I did the haircut the last time, hour and a half. But if I haven't, then it's an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours if it's a huge dog. Sometimes I got bit. I don't know if you guys can see it. It looks really gnarly. Don't worry about me. I'm going to soak it in Epsom salts. But that was a Pekingese, and that was on Friday, and I bled all over my new salon, so it's christened. But a Pekingese usually takes me an hour and 15 minutes, and this guy had such a bad experience at his last groomer that he just at certain points would be done. He lost it, and I didn't finish the groom, and the pet parent knew that I didn't finish it. His owner knew. She had warned me that he had a bad time the last time. And, Pekingese are not, the best dogs for grooming anyway. But, I needed longer with him because I was trying to get him to trust me. And, we had our freak out. I cleaned up my wound. They wanted to send me to the hospital. This is a subject for another day, and I understand, yes, all dog bites should be recorded, but this is not, I didn't want to go to the hospital. I didn't want to report this dog because I think that for the most part, he was good for his grooming. It was his tail and his feet he didn't like, and he got me because he was done, and I was trying to push, and I pushed a little too hard. And that's on me. He didn't go for my face. He didn't, chomp down. He just kind of, closed his eyes and flailed, and a tooth caught me. Now, if it was a cat bite, I absolutely would have gone to the hospital because I'm not playing around with those anymore. If he was aggressive, gone for me, I would have gone and reported the dog. This is just an old dog who's not had anybody to trust. But he took me a lot longer, and thankfully, or not thankfully for me, while Keith and I were having our conversation, I had taco on my table. And, not while I was grooming him, just after I got cleaned up and it wasn't bleeding anymore. I took him back out and I put an e-collar on him and I let him just chill out on my table. And I sat there and I stroked him and I pet him and I just kept calm, and Keith and I talked, and every now and again I tried to take a little bit more hair off his foot. I knew I wasn't going to get the nails done. I knew I was probably not going to get the tail, to be able to touch the tail again. And, Keith watched, every now and again, even if we were just sitting there talking, he'd freak out. And nothing, he had an e-collar on, I was safe, he had his groomer's helper. But normally that dog would take me an hour and 15 minutes. He's a 5 all over, not even like a lion mane or anything, with just a fluffy tail. So, throw him right in the bath, shave him right down, easy peasy. But here we were, 2 hours later, talking, and I'm not done the groom, but he's done, and I'm, that's as much as I can do. And so I was able to show Keith, this is what grooming is. And so when I see this question a lot, when people are on the internet, well, how many dogs is enough? That is subjective. That's, what do you do? What kind of grooming do you do? Do you just shave everything down all day long? Sure. I could do 12 shave downs in a day. If they were all small dogs and a 7-blade, shave, bathe, wrap them in a towel, shave, bathe the next 2 or 3, and then finish fluff drying them a little bit and shave them down again. Yes, I could do that. And that would be sufficient, you know? If you're hand scissoring everything and everything's in like, 3 inches of hair and they're giant dogs, maybe 4 is enough. So I think that as groomers, when we're looking to hire people or we're looking, to see if we measure up in speed or capacity, which is silly because you should always run your own race, as my tattoo says. Don't think of the dogs in a quantity of dog. Think of them in a production number. What do you need to make to be satisfied? That's your minimum. What do you need to make to be happy? That's your ideal. So my minimum is 6 dogs a day. And until I'm used to the space and I kind of have a new routine down, I'm aiming for just 6. When it gets to be around Christmas time, yeah, I want to do 8. I want to do 8 dogs a day, or the equivalent of 8 small dogs. And I think that this goes along with changing our perspective on a lot of things. I think a lot of the way that groomers think is just the way that we've always thought. And there are so many new ideas on, pay structure and just like what makes you a good groomer. You don't have to be Lindsay. You don't have to be a competitive groomer. You don't have to be a master groomer. In my mind, a good groomer is somebody who's kind to the dogs and kind to their owners. That can do a cute pet face. Like, that's all people want. They want somebody they can trust. And so I think that putting this like artificial number on us, that it's like, oh, I have to do 8 dogs a day, I have to do 10 dogs a day, those numbers, again, just like, oh, I have to be paid 50% commission, don't really mean anything. Like, when we're talking about numbers, we need to talk about actual numbers, like something that has a value, something that is quantitative instead of abstract, because a percentage is an abstract. It's not, if I say 50%, that's half, but it's half of what? It could be half of an apple. It could be half of $1,000,000. Like 50% standing on its own is an abstract idea. So yeah, that's kind of my spiel for today. And I know it's kind of short, and like, again, I said my brain's fried. We booked 71 new grooming appointments yesterday, which sounds great, but it's not. I'm booked till like November. So anyway, let's start changing our mindsets, especially as it's getting to be 2020 and we're still paying and thinking like we did in the 1970s, which I wasn't even alive for. Yeah. All right, cool. So, and again, I'm sorry I'm late. I'm sorry this isn't very, like, bubbly or enthusiastic like it normally is. I'm very, very happy person right now. I know my face doesn't say it, and neither does the tone of my voice. But coming up, I'm speaking at New England on Friday, October 12th. No, my birthday's Tuesday, so 11th. Friday the 11th, I'm doing my Short But Not Shaved seminar. On October 20th, I will be doing be the person they bark about on Positive Ed, which I'm very excited about. And that's everything. It's all about your first impression. And carrying that first impression through to make loyal customers that spread the word about you, which is what we did yesterday, hopefully, at that grand opening. My friend Barb Hoover and I will be speaking on April 5th at the St. Louis grooming school for the difficult dog. Liz Signs and I will be doing our skills ramp up again next year, maybe at 2 different locations. They're in the works, so as soon as I know something new, will let you guys know. And then I will be in October for my birthday, launching my new Fix Your Groom, which is going to be 30-second to 5-minute videos, kind of like what Liz and I do on just like little skill sets. So look for those. It's at Fix Your Groom on Insta, and there will be a website too. And yeah, I will keep you guys up to date on all of that. And thank you to everybody who thought of me for the Barkley Honors. We didn't get it, but that's okay. There's always next year. And yeah, so have a great rest of your Sunday, and I'll be back in 2 weeks, hopefully with a better live stream that's not so disjointed and full of ums. I think I'll be at New England. I'll be at New England, so I'll get to talk about New England. And actually what makes that show so great. That show's so great. I love that show so much. But we'll talk about that then. So, happy Sunday, everybody. Bye.